Hey friends, welcome to the Divorce Clarity Studio Passover Edition. I'm your host, Lisa Lisser, CEO and founder of LZL Coaching, a boutique coaching firm focused on divorce, relationships, and life transitions. If you're navigating divorce right now, or even simply quietly questioning your life, and something feels tight, confusing, or overwhelming, you're in the right place. There are moments in life when we know something isn't working, but we feel completely stuck inside it, not because we don't see it, but because we don't see a way out yet. As we approach Passover, the time of the Jewish people's redemption from slavery, a walk toward freedom and agency, we can find links to our lives today. It's right there in the story. I think the true wisdom in our tradition is repeating the story every year. Teaching our children helps us teach ourselves. And we can find those pieces of wisdom in the story that matter to us today. So it's not just for the kids. It's for us to go deep and connect with our inner voice. So let's go to the beginning of the Passover story, when the Jewish people are enslaved in Egypt and they cry out to God. God hears their cry. God hears them. They are in Egypt, in Mitzrayim. Though the Hebrew word Mitzrayim is often translated simply as Egypt, there is another meaning buried within it, and that is a narrow place, Mitzrayim, a place of constriction where you can't quite move freely. And for many people, that's exactly what divorce feels like. You're in a marriage, you're in a relationship, and you don't feel like you. One of the Jewish texts that we recite on Passover is Psalm 118. And it goes like this. From the narrow place, I called out to God, and God answered me with expansiveness. The first step on this journey is the calling out, the asking for help, the acknowledging that you don't need to do this alone. So let's name it. Sometimes our narrow place is loud. The conflict, the yelling, the tension, the constant friction. But sometimes it's very quiet. It's like walking on eggshells. It's not saying how you really feel or what you really feel. It's losing your voice slowly over time. It's making decisions from fear instead of clarity. And from the outside, everything might look fine, but inside it feels small, tight, constricted. And here's something that needs to be said. You don't need to be in crisis to justify wanting space to breathe. Mitzrayim means a narrow place. First we call out, and you can feel like everything is normal, and yet you still feel tied up. So I want to ask you something. Where in your life right now do you feel tight? Where do you feel like you can't quite move freely, or speak fully, or be yourself entirely? Just notice, no judgment, just awareness. That's the first step. So sometimes we ask ourselves, why is it so hard to leave? And here's the part that we don't talk about enough. Even when we recognize the narrow place, leaving is so incredibly hard because the unknown is terrifying. Because even painful dynamics can feel familiar, and familiarity feels safer than change. There are real fears. What happens if I change this dynamic? What happens if I step out? What will happen to my kids? How will I pay for my life? Who am I outside this marriage? And in divorce, another feeling rises up. Underneath all of that is shame. Like, this wasn't supposed to happen to me. What did I do wrong? How did I make such a big mistake? If you are sitting in that space, knowing something isn't right, feeling shame, feeling not ready to move, I want you to know there's nothing wrong with you. You're simply human. And just because something is painful doesn't mean we're ready to leave. And just because we're not ready doesn't mean we're meant to stay. And then there is a shift. Something changes. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's very quiet. A moment of clarity. A conversation that lands differently. A question you can't unask. And movement begins. And here's what I want you to know. Movement doesn't require certainty. You don't have to have all the answers just to get started. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know exactly what comes next. You simply need to be willing. Take one honest step forward. In the Torah, God tells Moses to tell the people, get going, journey forward. So what was going on? The people had just left Egypt. They are facing the Sea of Reeds, the Red Sea. It's water. How are they going to move forward? They scream to Moshe. Was it for lack of graves in Egypt that you took us to this place to die in the wilderness? And God says, why are you complaining? Be still and then get going. It took one person's faith. Our Midrash speaks of Nachshon ben Aminadav. He was one person, and he walked up to the water, and he put one foot in. He had faith, and he had commitment, and he did not have certainty, but he took a step forward, and then one more, and then one more, until the water was up to his nose, and then the sea. That's what momentum actually looks like. One small step, and when it still doesn't look like it's going to make a difference, you take another step, and then another. It is smaller than you think. So what does your step look like in your life? Does it look like starting to gather information, listening to a couple of podcasts, talking to a professional? Maybe it's a coach like me. Maybe it's a lawyer. Maybe it's a certified divorce financial advisor. Did you even know that these professionals existed? In life today, at least in life where I was more than 10 years ago when I divorced, I didn't know there were other people out there to help me beside a divorce lawyer. And lawyers are scary. We're thinking about how much is this going to cost? Is it worth it? What happens when I start with a lawyer? But you can start in a different way. Start with a coach. She helps you answer the questions you've been afraid of asking. Start with a financial advisor. They will help you find the financial confidence to move forward. You don't have to be scared all the time. You need to find some courage to answer those questions. Maybe your one step isn't about answering questions, but it's about setting a boundary. Or maybe it's just saying out loud for the first time, this isn't working for me. That one quiet step, that's momentum. It doesn't have to be a giant leap. It just has to be a shift. And then you go from stuck to movement. And as you begin to move, something important really happens. You start to come back to yourself. So I want you to reflect. Where am I stuck? Where am I waiting for certainty before taking even one step forward? And then ask, what is one small, honest step I can take right now? And what would it feel like to move forward? Even if I don't know how it's all going to turn out. You don't need to know the outcome for sure. You just need to start. So, what's freedom? What's really freedom? And we often think that freedom means getting to do everything the way that we want right away. We think it might feel like relief instantly, that everything will feel lighter. But that's not how freedom works. Freedom isn't the absence of pain. It's the ability to make an aligned choice. Think about your values. Freedom is the ability to hear your voice again and know that it's your voice. It's not someone else. Freedom is the ability to trust yourself. You begin shaping a life that reflects who you are becoming, and that takes time. In Pirkei Avot, from the Jewish Talmud, we learn it is not upon you to complete the task, but you are not free to desist from it. So what does that mean? In this context, it means you don't have to know how things will end, but that doesn't mean you can't start now. It's your job, your integrity with yourself, to start learning things that you might not have known before. That's beginning. That's the step that takes you toward your future. The value is moving forward. You don't have to know the result. And as we learned from the Passover story itself, freedom didn't happen in an instant. It was a process. The people didn't believe Moses when they were still in Egypt. They needed to experience the plagues, which were signs and wonders. What is the power that is going to support me as I move outside of myself? Who can I rely on? How do I know it's okay? So let's reflect again. Where do you feel overwhelmed by needing to figure everything out first? What's your responsibility right now, and what's not yours to carry? How can you take responsibility for yourself without losing compassion for yourself. So what does that mean? How do you give yourself compassion? Well, think about it. We all have an inner critic who tells us we're doing it wrong. We're not good enough. Our thoughts are not leading us to the right place. But think about it. That's what narrowness means. That's where you feel tight. I want you to hear this. Freedom takes time. It's a process, and you will not be stuck forever. You're simply at the beginning. You're moving from your Mitzrayim to your momentum. And it's not going to be loud and dramatic. It just has to be honest. And then you can ask yourself, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? So before we close, I want to leave you with this. May you find the courage to notice where life feels tight. May you find the compassion to honor why it's been hard to move. And now, may you find the strength to take one small, honest step towards something more spacious, more expansive, more aligned, and more truly yours. If this conversation resonated with you, if you're beginning to recognize your own narrow place, you don't have to walk this path alone. I'm here when you're ready. I'm Lisa Lisser. I'm a divorce coach. I'm a divorced mom. I used to be a lawyer, and I'm a Jewish educator. And you can find me at www.lzlcoaching.com. See you next time. And may you move from Mitzrayim to movement.